early 2025, the global economy wasn't just on edge, it was staring into a black hole. The fuse was lit by a single staggering number: a 145% tariff on all Chinese goods, imposed by the United States. This wasn't just another move in a long-running trade dispute, it was an act of economic warfare. It kicked off a retaliatory spiral that brought two superpowers to the brink and sent shockwaves through every single market on the planet. So, how did one decision from one leader manage to unleash this much chaos? Section 1. The first shots. To really get how we got here, you have to rewind to 2018. That's when the first shots in the US-China trade war were really fired. Citing unfair trade practices and IP theft, the Trump administration started rolling out tariffs. China, refusing to play ball, immediately fired back with its own taxes on American products. This set the stage for a tit-for-tat fight that would basically define global trade for years. What started with 10% here and 25% there pretty quickly became the new normal. Every negotiation would end in a shaky truce, and every truce would be broken by another round of threats. It was a slow-burn conflict, just turning up the heat on the global economy, month by month. Section 2. The two leaders. Behind the scenes, the negotiations were a total clash of styles. Donald Trump's approach was famously all over the place. It was about making deals, grabbing headlines, and often announced on social media. On the other side of the table was Xi Jinping, a leader playing the long game with the calculated discipline you'd expect from an authoritarian system. For him, it was about national pride. He couldn't be seen as backing down to American pressure. They'd meet at global summits. Things would cool off for a minute, but the core problem never went away. The cycle just kept repeating. Talks would break down, frustration would build, and the threat of new tariffs would pop up again, leaving businesses and entire countries caught in the crossfire of a political duel that felt more and more personal. Section 3. The 145% bomb. Then, in 2025, that slow burn erupted into a firestorm. After a few quick tariff hikes, the Trump administration dropped the economic bomb. A 145% tariff on basically all Chinese goods. The escalation was insane. Within days, China hit back with its own brutal tariffs, maxing out at 125% on American products. And Beijing didn't stop there. It played its trump card, suspending exports of critical rare earth minerals, putting a stranglehold on the world's entire high-tech industry. Just like that, the two-way trade that connects the world's biggest economies slammed to a halt. This wasn't a trade war anymore, it was a blockade. Section 4. The global ripple effect. The fallout was immediate and disastrous. The 145% tariff didn't just hurt China. It was a wrecking ball aimed at the complex supply chains that keep our world running. Suddenly, everything from your phone to industrial machinery was facing huge price hikes. U.S. retailers started warning that shelves could soon be empty, while analysts confirmed what everyone secretly knew. The cost of these tariffs was being paid almost entirely by American businesses and consumers. The shock was felt everywhere. In May 2025, U.S. seaborne imports from China crashed by nearly 30%, the biggest drop since the pandemic. European economies, which are tied to both the US and China, saw their own exports nosedive. German exports to the US fell by over 10% in a single month. British exports to the US dropped by a mind-boggling 33% in April alone. Stock markets were on a wild roller coaster, reacting to every rumor as the world braced for a full-blown global recession. Conclusion: the brink and beyond. At the peak of the crisis, with tariffs soaring, the US and China were on the verge of a complete economic divorce. The damage was so severe that both sides were forced to pull back from the edge. In a wild reversal, they agreed to a 90-day pause, slashing tariffs to make room for emergency talks. The US dropped its baseline tariff to 30%, and China lowered its to 10%. But let's be clear, this was a ceasefire, not a peace treaty. The solution was just a step back from mutual destruction, a confession that the economic pain was too much to bear. The 145% tariff was gone, but the scars were very real. The trade war exposed just how fragile our interconnected world is, and how fast political feuds can cripple the global economy. The fight between two competing visions for the 21st century is far from over, and the uneasy truce left one question hanging in the air. What happens when the next fuse is lit?